In this class, you will learn how to build a front end of a website using a real-world example, a restaurant website. Welcome! This course is for anyone interested in learning to build websites with React and Tailwind CSS. We will cover the full front-end setup, including sections like the menu, contact details, and the restaurant information. Plus, we will add a fully functional cart where you can learn how to add and remove items and display the correct totals in icons and the cart itself. Although we are building this for a restaurant, the design can easily be adapted to other types of websites by changing the content, making it a flexible template you can reuse. We will use Tailwind CSS, which offers a large set of pre-made CSS classes that you can apply directly in your HTML. Along with Tailwind CSS, we will use React to create reusable components that you can integrate seamlessly into any of your projects. By the end of this course, you will know how to build a front end just like this one for your own websites and have hands-on practice in the course project. Looking forward to see you in the class. In our VS Code, we will make sure we have these two plugins installed. First one is this Tailwind CSS IntelliSense and second one is this ES7. Then we will click on New Terminal and there first command will be this one. That will take a while, and feel free to just check the description of the video and use the commands, I put them there. Now we will use second one for installing the Tailwind and third one for initializing it. Now we will go into this Tailwind config file and we will put there this thing. Today we will also put there this additional line that you will have in the description of this video also, and you can copy paste it. And there we will be using two images and setting it as a background image attribute. So later we will be able to use something like background foot image and we will use it as a background of some of our divs. Now we will load these images in assets folder, but first again we will delete everything except these three files. There we will delete these lines, this import, save it, index.css. We will change this to this, and that's also something you can find in the description. I will leave it there, or maybe in a git. We usually import just these three Tailwind things, and then we set the font, maybe some primary color, but now I also set there a glass effect, and we will be adding these to some div, and it basically creates a glass effect around our div. That means it has some linear gradient background that has some opacity set, also some backdrop filter, so everything below this glass effect is blurred, and also it does some shadows set. Then we will be using this primary color from orange 800 to orange 500, and there we are using it for text, and there we will be using for some divs, cards or buttons. In app.js we will delete these things, do something like this. We will delete this logo and this import also. Now we can create the folders. First one will be assets, second one will be components. In assets you can put the pictures. I again put in git, so if you want to code along and replicate this project, you can do it. A lot of pictures as you can see. Now let's go to components and let's start with the first one. That will be of course the navbar. We will use the arrayfce word there, enter, save it, and in app.js now we will import it. And we can start with the coding. Now again in a terminal, you will do npm start. That will run the server and open our page there. First, there in our navbar, we will import this useState from React. We will import these three icons from React Icons AI. That will lead me to open a terminal again and use their next command you have in the description. And that is npm install React Icons. Our first lines, we are declaring a state variable nav and a function setNav to update the nav state. And then we have a function there called handleNav, and this function is responsible for toggling the value of our nav variable. Let's put there the first div where we will use the onClick, and in the onClick we will put our function handleNav. That means when we will be clicking this icon, it will be changing the value. And there we will use a ternary operator. That means when this navigation variable will be true, it will show the first position. So it will, when it will be clicked, it will show the outline closed. And when it will be false, which is the default state, it will be just showing the menu icon. For our div that will hold our code for the navigation, we will set text to black. Then we will set some fixed height to 80 pixels. max width of 1600 pixels, and we will use this max width for all of our sections. Then we will set margin horizontal to auto. We will use flexbox layout, center items vertically, but also justify between. That means there will be an even space. First element that we will add will be h1, heading 1, and that will hold a class name of TextXL, so some text size. For medium screen we will increase it. We will also increase the font weight. We will now use the primary color. You can see it set there. And then we will use margin from left to 4. Also, I will name our page Quick Deli. It can be like something like Quick Delivery. I just came with this name for this food web. So yeah, of course, pick anything you like. Then we will continue to next element. There will be the div that will hold 2 buttons. And you can see on this page how it got to the right because it holds the even spacing with this justify between. And why I'm putting these 2 buttons in a div? I'm putting it there because I will also want there a common attribute, and that will be hidden for both, because I will hide these buttons on the mobile screen and I will like show them again in this mobile section. I have there again display flex from a smaller screen and above, some gap, and from medium screen I'm creating a bigger gap. For the buttons itself, let's simplify them a bit. We won't use any hover functionality. For the first one, there is some border radius, height and width. Then also we are adding some border and border color and the background color for the button itself. What we can also do, as now we have the background primary color, which is there, we can copy it and we can use it for our button. So we will put it there and save. You can see how our button changed with the color we set there in our index.css. And we can move to another element, and that will be the shopping cart we just imported from React Icons AI. We will set there just some text size and text color, and also an ordered list that will be hidden on the mobile screen, and from medium screen and so on it will be displayed flex. It will hold 2 list items with anchor tags, and the first one will be food and the second one will be download, and it will redirect us to our sections we will create a bit later. Then we are moving to the mobile screen navigation. For the mobile section we will create a div, and inside this div we will have the items, but first we will put there a class name, and into this class name, into these curly brackets, we will again put this ternary operator, but now on the first position there will be shown the navigation itself. That means we will set height and width to full. Then we will set some spacing from the top, for example 80 pixels. We will set, actually we don't need to set right 0. We will set position fixed, ease in out, and some duration. That means it will smoothly slide in when we will click the navigation icon. Some high Z index also, and then on the false position, so on the default position, we will set fixed to top -100%. To see how this will work, we will need to add some items for the navigation, and then we will try it. And it will be this unordered list that will hold these 2 list items and a div with our 2 buttons. I'm using there a padding, then the text size, then full width, background primary color that we set in index.css, then some border radius, and then setting text color to white. In our list items, I'm using just some padding. Basically it's copied from there. And then I'm having there the div with 2 buttons, and I set there to flex position. I set there some gap, and also for the buttons it's almost the same. Let's actually check. We just updated the height and the width, and there we need to fix this one. We don't need overflow hidden. What would be probably also a good idea is to set a different color, because on this background it's not visible. Let's use background orange 900, save it, copy it and replace it there, and that looks better. Then our navigation, you can see how it's sliding from the top position, and there the set 80 pixels. And that will be it for the navigation bar. Let's go to the next component. We will go to our components, new file. It will be some hero section. We will use the word there, import it. And we have it, and we can start there. What we will need to import is only this outline search icon from React Icons/AI. And in our main div, we will keep this max width to 1600 pixels. We will also center it with margin horizontal to auto, and we will use grid layout. On a smaller screen and above, we will be using 2 columns. On a mobile screen, it will have a default value of 1 column. And also on a smaller screen and above, we will be keeping height to 500 pixels. And we'll set also a gap value of 4 to our grids, so they will have spacing between them. Now we will add 2 divs, and there we will be setting the background image we set in our Tailwind config file. There you can see first one food image and second one food image 2. Then we will set this background cover and background center, so we get the best of the image. This top to 0 we don't need. Then we will set full width, flexbox layout, so we can use the flex direction to column. That means we will have the items in the first div below each other. Then we will use justify center to center items horizontally, text center to center it horizontally, and also we will set some padding, text color, and height of 300 pixels for the mobile screen. On smaller screen and above, we will set height to full. For the second one, a bit less attributes, but still rounded corners with border radius, background cover, background center, and with height is the same thing. If we didn't set this value on a mobile screen, this fixed height to 300 pixels, it will actually overflow to our next section, which we don't want. I can already tell that the second div will be empty. We won't put anything there, it will just hold the picture. Into our first div, we will put a div that will hold this form and this button, and we will be creating this find your location text with this find me button. For this we need a white background, border radius, then we will set some fixed width, and for medium screen and above we will be increasing it. We will center it horizontally. If we don't have this, you can see what happens. It will go to the left side, and we will be using the grid layout. There we will set grid columns to 10, and why we are doing it. For the form, we will set column span to 7, and that means it will take 70% of this grid columns, because 7 out of 10 is 70%. Also can be set as 70%. On a smaller screen and above, it will take 80%, let's say, or 8 out of 10. And this button, we don't even need to set this column span there, but we can do it. So let's use column span 2, and that means it will take the rest of the 2 columns, so 20%. And that will create a layout like this, where there is the find your location input and there is the button. Is also this padding. And then let's move to the form itself. There we are using some border. We are setting the border color, setting some shadow. There is the call span I just now explained. Same thing there. And now we are using a flexbox layout for this form, so we can use justify between. We will create even spacing between the elements. Max width of this input, which is currently 700 pixels. Again, horizontal margin to auto, full width, some padding, border radius, text color and background color there. And for input, we are using margin to left, transparent background, and then focus outline none. If we don't have it, we can see what happens. On our page, if we will click, there will be the outline. So that's something we don't want. Then we will set the placeholder, and for the button, we will increase the text a bit so it's nicely visible. There next to this form is a find button. I will simplify it a bit. So there is the margin horizontal and vertical to auto, border radius, height and width. Then we are using border to orange, background to orange, and also text color and some shadow around our button. Then we have there only the second div, that is with the background image, and that's it for this hero section. Let's go to the next one that will be holding our food that we will be offering on our page. Let's create a new file that will be food.jsx. We will use the word there, save it, go to app.js, food. Now we can see it's imported. We will need to create another file there in source folder, new file, and it will be named product.js. Be careful, not JSX, only JS. And there we will import these images from this product photos, and I will use only few of them, or eight of them, because I will want to have only 8 products. That's enough for the explanation. Of course, you can add there more and more products. In curly brackets, we will put the product information, and then we will end it with comma. And after comma, we will put another product. For now, I will have only this information, so I don't even need a comma there, but it can be there. We will start with ID. I will have IDs like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Product name depends on the product. Price also, I will put everywhere like $13. And product image, you will put there the source you imported there. So I will start with veggie burger, bacon burger, and so on and so on. This is how it will look like. And we can continue in app.js. There we need to import the useState from React. And also, we will add there these two constants. We will add there this variable is cart visible. Set is cart visible will be changing the value of this variable, and the default value will be false. Then we will be using this toggle cart visibility that we will be using in a navigation bar. And whenever we will click it, it will change the value of this is cart visible. We also need to take this toggle cart visibility to our navbar, and we will do it like setting there the toggle cart visibility. And for food, we will use is cart visible, the variable, and we will also input it there. So we will be able to work with this variable in our component. Now let's go to the navbar.jsx. And in navbar.jsx, you can see that we need to put this there as input parameter the toggle cart visibility. Then if I will click it again, I can go there in the button of our outline shopping cart, and there onClick function will toggle this cart visibility. That means whenever I will click this shopping cart, it will change the value of toggle cart visibility to true or false, and that means it will open our cart. Before we start, we need to import these 3 icons. Then we will be importing useEffect and useState. Then we will be also importing products from the product.js we created there. By the way, there is also input parameter is cart visible we will be using for the cart. And now to the first constant. First we have there from local storage. And this gets cart items stored in local storage, and then it parses it from a string to an object and assigns it from local storage variable. On the next line, we are using a state variable cart items, and this value is retrieved from the local storage. And setCartItems function is then used to update this variable. Now what is happening in this if condition? If data are not stored in local storage under this key products, it initializes the local storage with the default value. And that will be object representing the cart items with their IDs as a key, which is there if you remember 1, 2, and these numbers, ID 1, 2, and quantity. And the initial quantity is 0 for everything. So in the cart there is 0 of these items. Now in a really simple way, what is this useEffect doing? And it's doing the thing that when you will add the items into the cart and then you will refresh the page, this useEffect function won't let these items disappear. If you won't have this useEffect function and you can try it and you refresh the page, you will lost everything from your cart, and this is definitely something we don't want for our users. Now let's go to this add to cart, and this is for adding the items to cart, and it takes the ID parameter and it updates the cart items with incrementing the quantity by +1 there. So whenever you click this and there will be this add to cart, it will be incrementing these values +1 every time. That gets us to remove from cart function, and there is basically the same thing happening, but instead of incrementing it by +1 is resetting the value to 0. Some functionality like remove one item from cart would be just copying this and putting there -1. And last function we will use will be get total amount, and it will be calculating total amount of the items in the cart. Then it will iterate over each item in the cart items. Then it will retrieve the corresponding product info. And then it will calculate the subtotal for each item, quantity multiplied by price. And then it will accumulate the subtotal to get the total amount. And we will type return and open the brackets. And inside we will put these HTML tags. First we will put there a div that will hold everything. And this div will have ID of food. And also will have a vertical margin of 12. We will keep max width to 1600 pixels. We will use place items to center. On a larger screen and above, we will set horizontal margin to auto. Then we will use flexbox layout and flex direction to column. And also we will set a gap of 12. Now if you will check the first div, you can actually see it's in some condition. And it starts with this curly bracket that ends there. And it's saying that if this isCart visible is true, then it should show this div. This is the variable we are inputting there. We set in this app.js there, and it's triggered by the shopping cart button in navigation bar. Let's now go into the div, and there we will set z-index to 10. We will use fixed position. We will set some padding. This fixed position will be to right 0. Then we will use background primary color that we set in this index.css there. Then we will use width of 96, height to screen, so it will take the full height of your viewport height, and this for enabling the vertical scrolling. I will now open the cart on our page so we can see it. First we have paragraph tag, where we will set some text size and text weight. And in this paragraph tag we will be saying your order with $sign, and after this $sign we will put the get total amount value. That is calculated by this function we did there. Right after the $sign, there will be shown the get total amount. So in case we order 2 foods, it will be something like $26. Then we will start there this products.map and products. And that will be repeating our products that will be in our cart items. We have there the if condition, and in case cart items are not empty, we will be returning this div. And this div is some template for the cart items. We are starting there with a key that is product.id. Then we are using their class effect we have in index.css. We are having their vertical margin. We are using grid and grid columns 5. And our image there is taking 2 columns of it. I will now add some product so you can see it. There you can see how the image is taking 2 out of 5 grid columns. We will be using overflow hidden. If we want to use it, there can happen that some of our content will overflow out of our div. Inside this div we will have the image. We will be using object cover so we get the best of the image, fixed width and height, and also border radius. Then under the image or next to the image, we will be using these paragraphs with the information about the product, and there you can see how I'm accessing these product fields with these curly brackets. Because I'm mapping it there, I can do product dot and the field. And I have there only the fields like price, product name, and so on. So I can use only these fields. If you will add there more fields, then you can also use them. What we are setting there is some text size, text weight, padding to left. There we are centering it and setting some horizontal space. Also we can delete the italic and use it like this. For the button we will set position to absolute and we will fix it to right bottom corner. Then we will add there some red colors, and when we will hover over it, we will just switch it, so the background will be red of this text and the text will be red of this background with a little bit different value, but it's almost the same. Then we will add some padding and border radius and also the text remove. Then we will close the divs and that will be it for our cart. Now we can go to products itself. There we are starting with heading to food, adding some emojis so we have it more colorful. We are setting text size, padding. In order to align this text to start, we need some width, otherwise it won't work. Then for the div that will hold our product, we will be using grid layout, and on larger screen than above, we will be using grid columns 4, so 4 items next to each other. We will use place items to centered, so we have them nicely centered. and we will use gap between them to 6. Then we'll again use this product.map, so we have access to the product values, product fields, and there we'll start with the div, again the same thing. We will set the key to product ID, and there we'll start with the first class, and styling for this div will be width to fixed 380 pixels, and that is styling for the product. So if I will put there, for example, 500, you can see how it increases. Let's put there back 380, then some padding, then some background, but it doesn't matter in the end that much because we are using there this glass effect we have set there. So if you have some background, it will be transparent and the objects on the background will be also visible. Then some border radius. Then we need to use this transition all with this duration, because then when we will hover over our items, it will look like this. And that is this hover scale class. Now going to image, there we set also border radius, fixed width and height, and object cover, so we get the best of the image. And we set the source to this product.productImage field. And we already imported images in this file. We don't need to do it again there. Then we'll continue with another div, and that will be holding the information about our product. There we will be using display flex and flex direction row. So we have all the informations next to each other. We will distribute an even spacing between this information with justify between. We will again use item center. That means we will center it vertically, and then some margin to top, and again some gap. For the heading 2, we will increase the font weight and font size, and again we will use the value of the field we set in our product.js there. Then moving to this div, that is just for stars, and there we are using these icons we imported there. And for every product I'm using 4 stars and half stars, so it's 4.5 stars out of 5. Then we have there heading 3, that is with the product price, again font weight, font size, and a button that has this on-click functionality, add to cart. Then whenever we click on our item, it will be added to our cart. There is the styling of the button. If you go there, we have some padding, text size, width, border radius, then the color and hover color. And for the icon itself, we will just set horizontal margin to auto, so this icon will be centered inside this button. What is happening on the next line is this information of how many products we currently have in our cart. You can see how this value is incrementing by 1 every time I click the cart there. Not a complex magic, it just shows the sum of the cart items with this ID. And there is just the styling. We are using position absolute for fixing it to the left upper corner. Then with flexbox layout and vertical and horizontal centering, we are centering the value, otherwise it will be somewhere in the left upper corner inside this green box. Then we are setting the border radius, font weight, and height and width. Then we need to properly end our divs, returns, curly brackets, and so on. And after we do it, we can save it, and that will be it for our food page. Let's now check how it works. We will add these products into our cart. You can see how it's incrementing. Then we will check our cart there. Then we will refresh the page. And when we will again open the cart, we won't lose the items. There you have the total sum of the order. There we can remove all the items. We can now continue with the next section. I would name next section like easy, because we will be highlighting in the section how easy it is to order from our website. We will use the word there, save it, and we will import there these 3 images, address, fork, and time. Let's go for the first div. We will use there flexbox layout, flex direction to column, so all these elements will be below each other, then vertical padding to 8, and on smaller screen and above, we will be using fixed height of 500 pixels. Then heading of this section, get your food, will be with horizontal margin to auto, increased text size, and some padding. And now the div that will hold our 3 divs, and we already have there the first one. To this div, we will again use flexbox layout, flex direction to column, and on smaller screen and above, we will be using this flex direction to row. That means the items will be next to each other. Then we will use justify around. That means we will have evenly distributed spacing around our items. The first div that you can already see there on the screen will be the find your address, like first find your address. We will have there fixed width, this glass effect, we have in index.css. Then again, flexbox layout, because we want flex direction to column, so this image and paragraph are below each other. Justify between, so there is also even distributed spacing between these two elements, image and paragraph. Then some padding, again centering it horizontally with margin X to auto, and on smaller screen and above we will be using margin X to 0. We'll be resetting this horizontal margin because we are using there this justify around, which is already distributing the spacing. Then some margin to vertical position, and again on smaller screen and above we will be resetting this because we want this just for a mobile screen. Then there will be the image tag, and we will be using this icon address, and that will have fixed width and will be centered by margin X to auto horizontally. Then the paragraph, again centered by margin X to auto, and there we will have the text. Now we can copy this 2 times, and we will just change the text and the source. So the second one source will be fork, third one will be time, second text will be choose your food, and then just wait 30 to 40 minutes. And that's it for this section. Pretty easy, even we have this section named easy, so yeah, it all goes together, which is nice. Let's go to the pre-last section. We will name this section download. We will need to import 2 images there. First one will be mobile and second one notebook. Again, you will find it in the assets I will put on Git. Into the main div of this section, we will set the background of food image we imported there in our Tailwind config file. Then we will do background cover and background to bottom. That means if we do, for example, background to center, we will get this part of the image. So we want bottom because we don't want that part. Then we will use grid layout because we want to set grid calls to. And that is perfectly fine for our 2 divs we will have in this section. One will be on the left side, second one on the right side. Also on a smaller screen and above we will be setting fixed height to 400 pixels, and we will give this div ID of download, so our navigation bar will work with this. Then let's add the first div, and that will contain 2 images with position absolute. Because these images will be of this position, we will need to set this div to relative position and also bottom 0. And now we will count for these 2 images the right and the bottom. And there is a relative, so it will be counted from this div. First one, the mobile, we will set a bit to right and to bottom. For the second one, we don't need to do anything because its initial position is the one that we want. That is fine for us. Then we will set fixed width of 350 pixels for the second image with a notebook, a bit bigger as this image is a bit more wider and the mobile is more about height, which is automatically because we don't set it. Then we can set a higher Z index so it not falls below the upper section. And now we will add also right side of this section. Therefore the next div we will again use this class we have in index.css. Then we will set text color to white, max width of 700 pixels because that's enough for this section. Then some padding and vertical margin to auto. Then 2 paragraphs. First, download our application. Second one, use our awesome application on iOS or Android. Again, we'll set some text sizes, change it on smaller screen, vertical padding, font weight. The second div will hold the 2 buttons. And now we can upgrade it a bit. Let's go on some Tailwind components page and let's find these 2 buttons for the Apple Store and for the Google Play, and we will copy it from there. And yeah, I will again give you it to the description or to the Git, so you can take it from there. There will be some file with useful HTML and so on. Now I pasted it there, and after I pasted it, I also need to its div that will hold these 2 buttons, do the flex and flex direction row, so I'm making sure they are next to each other. And also for the app button or app store button, I will add margin to right to like 6. And that will make it look like this on our page. Now we have even this section, then we have this get our food, we will need to increase the margin here. Then we have there the food. And I think we can go to the last section, and that is a footer. We will create a new component, footer.jsx. For the footer, we will need to import from React's icon AI these 3 icons. GitHub, Instagram and Facebook. Then in the first div, we will set vertical padding to 10, background to orange 900, and on smaller screen we will change the padding on top and on larger also. Inside we will have a div that will have some horizontal padding, and we'll again change this padding depending on the screen size. Then we will also center this with margin horizontal auto. Then there will be another div, and that will be using the grid columns too on the mobile screen. Then on medium screen and above, we will be setting this to 4 columns, as you can see there, but you cannot see the logo there because it's hidden under the notebook picture. And I kinda like it, so I won't probably even change it. But on the mobile screen, the logo is visible there. And then, moving to logo, you can see that it's in H1 tag, but we are setting there only the text color and font weight with font size. Then moving to first div, inside these 3 divs, it will hold the paragraph tag with help, there. And inside will be unordered list with 2 list items, support and Q&A. Then we'll have there another div that will be with this partners. It's just a copy of the first div but with changed paragraph and list items inside the unordered list. We will put our partners and our silver partner or platinum partner. Move to some join us section, job offers, HR. Still the same thing. Only thing different is this div on the bottom. And again we are setting there some margin to top and increasing it with the screen sizes. Then inside we had a div that is holding these 2 unordered lists. On smaller screen and above we are increasing the space between these 2 unordered lists on a horizontal, and we are also centering them vertically. First unordered list is holding these 3 icons we imported: Facebook, Instagram and GitHub. We are setting there the flexbox layout so they are next to each other. Also we are setting there some gap, color of these icons, size of these icons, margin to bottom, and on smaller screen and above we are resetting this margin to bottom. In second unordered list we are just putting some list items, privacy policy and terms and conditions, and same thing, using some gap there, and also text grade 200 that we used also for our list items up there. And that will be it for the footer. Now only some really small updates. On the download component we will update the width for our iOS button and App Store button there and there. And then in our foot component we will need to add for our remove button also the relative position. So in outer div we will set this relative keyboard there.